Good morning. I invite you to place your hands together in reverence, Gassho, as I read a passage written by Venerable Shinran. Respectfully entrusting in the true teaching, practice, and enlightenment of Buddha, I am particularly aware of the profundity of the compassionate virtues of Tathagata. Because of this, I rejoice in what I have heard and proclaiming what I have received. Nammanda Vitsnam. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much to all of the ministers and all of you for allowing me to be with you today at your Honko observance. And again, I thank you for being here to listen. I am humbled to be able to share my appreciation of Venerable Shinran's teaching during this very important observance. But I am very sorry that I was unable to be with you in person this time. I hope that one day I will be able to visit your temple and can meet you all, but hopefully not in the peak of summer. We are gathered today for the observance of Honko. This is the most important observance of our tradition. Sometimes we say simply that Honko is the annual memorial service for our tradition's founder, Venerable Shinran. However, the meaning of the word Honko is gathering to repay a kindness. So Honko is a time for us to gather in honor of the founder's passing so that we can repay the kindness of his clarifying Jodo Shinshu for us today. So I would like to thank you once again for being here as we gather to listen to the calling of Namo Amida Butsu for the benefit of ourselves and others. This passage that I just shared can be found in the preface of Venerable Shinran's main textual work, the Kyogyo Shomonrui, or the collection of passages that reveal the true and real teaching, activity, and perfectness or enlightenment of the Pure Land teaching. In this passage, Venerable Shinran is expressing his deep appreciation of the profound compassion and virtues that he received from Amida Tathagata. And out of his appreciation, he is joyfully sharing what he has heard. He is joyfully sharing what he has heard, not to brag about what he has received, or not to brag about the teaching, but because he found the teaching of Namo Amida Butsu deeply meaningful for himself. And so he sincerely wanted to pass on this teaching. He wanted to proclaim it to others so that all people can benefit from this teaching as well. So we are gathering here today to reflect on what is this special teaching that he wanted us all to hear. What is the kindness that we are receiving that we need to appreciate and repay? And of course, I think we all wonder at some level, what does this have to do with my life today? The simple answer to what we are supposed to hear is the fundamental or primal vow of Amida Buddha. What Venerable Shinran teaches is that what we should be listening to is why and how Amida Buddha established and fulfilled its resolution to rescue and guide all beings out of this world of hardship and suffering. In other words, to receive this Dharma teaching means that we are listening for the lesson of why and how Amida Buddha established and fulfilled the most important promise to constantly rescue and guide all beings, all of us, out of this world of hardship and suffering. Shakyamuni Buddha taught from the beginningless beginning that we have all been afflicted by deep ignorance and the three poisons of me-focused attachments, me-focused aversions, and foolishness of action in body, speech, and thought. These afflictions in us as individuals and collective groups is what cause the hardship and harm for ourselves and others around us. Out of deep sadness of seeing what we are doing to ourselves and this cycle that we are trapped in, Buddha vowed to dedicate itself to guide us and pull us out of this situation through sharing wisdom, through sharing compassion. This is why the vow needed to be established. Why is it important for us to hear this? If you are like me, I don't like being told anything bad or negative about myself. Even though I say that I'm open to constructive criticism, depending on my mood, it still sometimes stings to hear it. And so when I hear someone judging me or criticizing me, instead of listening and to what they really have to say and possibly taking their advice to heart, chances are high that I will get annoyed and possibly even angry at that person who is saying those things about me. Has this ever happened to you? However, if I truly reflect on it, the very fact that I don't want to hear that I have, so-called room for improvement or that I could be wrong is itself proof that I have these self-centered afflictions, proving the Tathagata's words. So the Tathagata's vow was established to awake us all up to see the depth of our self-centeredness and arrogance. So out of deep care and concern for my well-being and the well-being of all others around me, Amida Buddha is always working to help me adjust the way I see myself, the way I see life, and how I relate to life and navigate through it. How does Buddha do this? This is where we get to the how of Buddha fulfilling the vow. The sutra teaches us that a monk named Dharmakara saw that many people were suffering from hardships in their lives. Out of deep compassion for all beings, deep care for all beings, Dharmakara resolved to become Buddha in order to save everyone from their hardships through fully sharing the wisdom and compassion of the Dharma. Dharmakara vowed to not just become any regular old Buddha, but an unsurpassed Buddha whose teaching and influence would be limitless and endless in time and space, whose wisdom and compassion would be a culmination of all the Buddhas that ever existed. Dharmakara also vowed to create a realm that is pure of any ignorance and 3 poisons, and this realm would be without any hardships and suffering, where all beings can come and become a Buddha themselves. After practicing and perfecting Dharma wisdom and Dharma compassion for innumerable eons, living life after life, experiencing all different types of hardships and sufferings that somebody may encounter, Dharmakara fulfilled its practice and fulfilled its vow of becoming this immeasurable wisdom and compassion, which we call Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu is true and real wisdom and compassion that can be heard by anyone, anywhere, at any time. This is what it means for it to be limitless and endless in time and space. All are embraced by its light and life, with no one excluded or abandoned. Namo Amida Butsu calls to all beings to show us that there is an immeasurable, true and real, pure realm outside of our limited, false, deluded views that's based on our self-centeredness and arrogance. Through Namo Amida Butsu, we are being communicated to. We are being told that there is something warm that wishes for us to find guidance and safety in it. Each and every one of us are being thought of and cared for by enlightenment itself, by Tathagata itself. We do not have to exist forever in a world of suffering, fear, and doubt. We are being told that we are not alone, and we are an integral part of this immeasurable life that is larger than our self-centered view of life. It is within this deep compassion, this care, this calling, that the vow and Namo Amida Butsu are given to us. It is so that we can have spiritual strength, a strong foundation and direction in life. With this foundation, we are being liberated from our mundane cyclical life of repeating the same mistakes over and over again. And we are being put on a life, a path of life that has a clear direction with an ultimate endpoint. That ultimate endpoint is the true and real realm of bliss, ultimate nirvana. Again, this may all sound abstract. So what does this have to do with our everyday lives, you might be asking? Because of our three poisons and deep self-centeredness, we do not see the world as it is. I do not see the world as it is. Each of us, including myself, can only see the world through our own personal filter, through our own personal standpoint. And each of us has the standpoint of self-interest, arrogance, self-righteousness. This is why we go through life constantly thinking, I'm right. My way of viewing the world is the best way, the right way. That way, your way, is wrong. And as a collective groups, we say, our side, our camp is good. They are bad. We might say things like, why can't other people think like me? If they did, the world would be so much better. Or we might say, why can't the world ever go the way that I want it to go? We are thinking this at all levels of our lives, from anything as small as, minute family quarrels, to political and international worldviews, and everything in between. We are always doing this, going around in circles, constantly lost and in conflict within the darkness of our self-centeredness and ignorance. We always ask, how do we get out of this situation? But because of the compassionate vow, the light of Namo Amida Butsu is constantly illuminating each and every one of us, acting as a beacon or lighthouse, illuminating a path for us so that we can find a way out and be liberated from this realm of living our lives, going around and around and around, just saying, no, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, I'm better. No, always trying to prove that my way is the right way to get out. No, this is what causes us to go around and around and around. And we are never able to escape our situation of challenges and hardships of life because of it. This is why the light is here, to help us clearly see that our ignorance, my ignorance and three poisons, are what make it difficult, if not impossible, to hop off this emotionally exhausting, unending cycle of trials and tribulations. Being made to realize this, we can begin to understand that relying on our own self-centered, arrogant hearts and minds to find a sense of settlement and deep joy in this life is futile. Because all we are doing is constantly acting off of our self-centered afflictions and arrogance. As a result, because of this light being shown on us, we are able to realize, hey, maybe that's not the way. And then we can turn our hearts and minds towards the fulfilled wisdom and compassion of Namo Amida Butsu that has no arrogance, that has no self-interest, but only the care for all of us. This is what I think Shinran Shonin wants us to hear, and what it means to listen to why and how the vow was established and fulfilled. When we sincerely, honestly reflect on the meaning of the essence and activity of the vow for ourselves, Tathagata's activity for ourselves, then naturally, slowly, our view of ourself changes. And not only does the view of ourself change, but the view of our lives, others around us, and how we relate to the world will fundamentally change. Through this transformation, our everyday lives will also naturally change. It will no longer always be me, but rather we will slowly be able to see the world as me with others, as Buddha as my guiding light. Thus, my appreciation of this Nembutsu teaching is that it is not a teaching or practice that we apply to our everyday lives, like, oh, I have this problem, what does Buddha say? Oh, I have this problem, what does Buddha say? But it is a teaching and practice that is constantly working to interact with us at a deep level in our hearts and minds every day. And once we become open to it, it becomes a solid foundation for the way that we live our lives. It becomes the basic values through which we live, not a tool to be used or applied to personal or social problems at our discretion. This is my appreciation of the genuine teaching, activity, and perfectedness of the Tathagata that Venerable Shinran found himself embraced within. This compassionate activity of Namo Amida Butsu is what Venerable Shinran felt sincere joy and gratitude in receiving. He was so excited to receive this great, rare treasure of a teaching that he wanted to proclaim what he had learned. Have you ever been so excited about something that you just wanted to, as the saying goes, shout from the rooftops? This is why Venerable Shinran documented this teaching called Jodo Shinshu for us. He urgently, truly, excitedly wanted to share it with others. And so he wrote the Kyogyo Shinsho, he wrote the Wasan, he wrote the letters in order to share this teaching with us and leave it for everybody that was after him. As I mentioned, ho'on means to repay a kindness. In Buddhism, the way to repay the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and great teachers is to establish conviction or entrusting in the Dharma for oneself and pass on the Dharma for others for the benefit of people of the same time period and in the future. And so all of Venerable Shinran's writings and teachings was his ho'on towards Amida Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, and the seven masters of the Pure Land teachings. Because of his ho'on, we are now receiving this teaching with the opportunity for us to sincerely hear it, reflect on it, and entrust in it for ourselves. Throughout the year, we all get busy and say, oh, I should have gone to temple, but I had this to do, or I have that to do. The kids have sports, we have this activity, we have that activity. And this is all because of our self-centeredness and ignorance. Anything and everything is more that has to do with benefiting or making me feel gratified in this moment is more important to us than coming to temple regularly. That is why Ho'onko is the most important observance for us on the Jodo Shinshu path. It is meant to be not only a time for us to say thank you and honor the Venerable One who clarified and left this teaching for us, but it is also an opportunity for us to consciously take time to rededicate ourselves to listening to the Nembutsu teaching for ourselves and trust in it, and resolve to do what we can to make this teaching available for others, not just now, but all in the future. And so, as our expression of our ho'on, we listen to and hear Namo Amida Butsu and the fundamental vow for ourselves in all sincerity, just as Venerable Shinran did. And we are being encouraged to wholeheartedly entrust in it and pass on its joy, compassion, and wisdom for all others, present and future, to encounter for themselves. Through passing on this teaching, activity, and perfectedness of the vow, we participate in the great compassion of relieving all beings from being lost in the cycle of darkness of ignorance. And this is by revealing Amida's path to the bliss of ultimate nirvana. So I hope as each of us continues on this weekend, this week, this month, year, until the end of our earthly lives, we continue to appreciate and repay Venerable Shinran and Amida Tathagata by doing our best to live with Namo Amida Butsu in our hearts and minds as the foundation for our lives. I encourage you all to continue to reflect on the meaning of Amida's vow and allow the wisdom and compassion of Amida Tathagata to permeate your heart and mind and serve as the foundation for you in your life. Thank you very much once again for allowing me the opportunity to share my appreciation of Venerable Shinran's teaching of Namo Amida Butsu with all of you at the Arizona Buddhist Temple. I would now like to close by reading a letter written by Master Renyo on the tradition left to us by Venerable Shinran. What is taught in the tradition of Venerable Shinran is that the heart that entrusts in Buddha's vow is essential. For when we abandon various practices and wholeheartedly take refuge in Amida Buddha, our birth in the Pure Land is settled by the Buddha through the inconceivable vow power. The state we thus attain is described as with awakening to a single thought of entrusting, we enjoin those who are in the stage of the truly settled. Recitation of the Nembutsu thereafter should be understood to be the Nembutsu as an expression of thankfulness and gratitude for the Tathagata's benevolence for settling our birth in the Pure Land, humbly and respectfully. 小に日にゃのご関係の趣を信じのもって本当せられ候そのゆえはもろもろの造業を投げ捨てて一心にmidaに奇妙すれば不可思議の眼力として運の方より往生は事情せしめたもそのくらいを一年発起入賞上始終とも釈しその上の称名念仏如来我が往生を定めたまいしごの人の念仏と心めきなりあなかしこあなかしこナマンダプツナマンダプナマンダプツナマンダプナマンダプツナマンダプ